Have you ever wondered what games you should keep or you should lose? Find out here at Purge Reviews. Have you ever wondered what games you should sell or you should use? Find out here at Purge Reviews. Find out on our top 10 list what games you cannot miss. Don't forget to subscribe to Purge Reviews.
Sherlock Homes Consulting Detective. Now this game is very different than most games that you're going to be used to. So what you're going to get here is more of a mystery. Think of a mystery theater where there's a story that happens, you're going to get some clues, and then you're going to use these books, you're just going to read them out loud, and you're going to try to figure this out. There's not a whole lot of direction. Well, for example, someone might say, well, I talked to Steve yesterday, saw him at the bar, and what we were talking about was this. Well, you need to go talk to Steve at the bar, or at least that's an option. There's red herrings involved, so you may go down a path, but it's a lot of reading. It's not something that I would do with a bunch of gamers unless you guys are just into reading to each other. It's more of a solo experience, I think. I play with my wife. We tend to like it. But getting more than two, I don't think you're going to have a lot to do. There are rules to score it on your own and try to figure it out on your own, where I read a clue, I guess, but I don't share that with you because you didn't go there. I think if I was going to play, I'd be playing it more cooperative the way we do. There is a way to score it against Holmes, but he's so insanely good, there's no way to ever, I don't know how you would do it. You'd have to be perfect and then get all the questions. So what we do is, after you go through a certain amount of time and you've got enough clues, we feel like we could answer this, yeah. So then we go to the questions, which we didn't know what they were the whole time. And we find out what the questions are, we answer them, and then we score ourselves. And it kind of tells you how good you did. I don't think you'll ever beat Holmes. If you did, I'd probably just call you a liar because I don't believe you. It's insane how effective he is. Other than that, I mean, it's just a lot of looking at maps, but even that doesn't matter. It does somewhat, but it's really just a matter of reading the introduction, and you're looking at this directory to go find people, and then you talk to them by reading the passage, and you're getting more and more clues. It's not a very exciting game. There's no great components in it. It's a bunch of words in a book, but it's like playing your own choose your own adventure, and I really like it. So we're going to keep it more because it's unique. I don't have a lot to compare it to. Mythos Tales just came out. I haven't got a chance to play that one yet. I kickstarted it, but for what it is, it's very well done. I like going through them. It's not something I want to do all the time. We've gone through a couple of them, and we've had a really good time with it. But I don't think it's going to appeal to everybody. So take a harder look at this to see if you're going to like it. It's reading a book. That's what you're doing, and then using your mind to try to figure out what's going on and making guesses or using the clues to make a hypothesis about what's going on. Here are components for Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective. You get the art is great, but a little bit boring of a picture, I guess, but it tells you what you're about to do. This game is very different, and I'm not going to put any spoilers in here when I show you the components, but you're going to get 10 of these books, and what you're going to have in it, and I'm going to go kind of fast. At the back, you'll have the conclusion, you'll have notes that you correspond to, and this you can look at. This is not a spoiler. This is just like the story to get you started. And then what you'll do is you'll use these newspapers. These are not spoilers. You get these. This is the first one you get, so I'll show you this one. You'll get this as soon as the game starts. There's no, like I said, no spoiler. And you can read this and get clues. No spoiler here. You get this map of London, so you can see just like how close things are. I'm not going to be a little close up here. You can see the numbers that will correspond to. And this is going to be important. This is a London directory. So what this is going to do is give you every possible character in the game. This is not a spoiler. You get this from the beginning. And if you look, if you want to find somebody, H. Lawrence Optikins, you go 31NW. And if he's a character in a story, when you open up the case book, you will refer to the number, and it'll tell you what happened there. Here are the rules. The rules are pretty simple. there's a little bit of an introduction that you can read this lecture right here. And it's rather long, but it introduces you to a lot of the characters you'll see throughout each of the times or the cases. So you're going to get a number of these newspapers that will come out because each of these cases are in order of the date. These are not spoilers. And you get a number of these. So there's no dice, there's no pawns or placement. You get these 10 cases, and you're going to get the books, and you're going to get these newspapers, the map, and that is really it for the components. This paper is kind of cheap. The rest of it's really nice. The map is just paper map. But this is really a game that you kind of play in your head. The rules are pretty good for Sherlock Holmes. It's not a complicated game at all. There's a long introduction of all the characters that you kind of need to go through. If you haven't played in 6 months, you might need to go through those characters again or just refer back to them as you go. I don't ever try to play against Holmes. That's not even something what we even try to do, to try to beat. I think that just lends you to guessing a little bit too early. And if you haven't played it perfectly, you're going to miss it. So I just play until we're done or feel like we know enough, and then we move on from there. Okay, so how does this game work? Well, I'm not going to do any spoilers, so you can follow along. You are going to get a newspaper. You are going to get the London directory, so you can look everybody up, and you're going to get a map of London. Now, I'm going to show you case number 1 here, because there won't be a lot of spoilers, because this is where you'll be starting out. So case number 1, and there's 10 of them in the book, or in the box, is the munitions magnet. Case 1 until March 12th, 1888, which you can always match up with the date on the newspaper that you'll start out with. Let's see what we have here. So you're going to have a newspaper, and what you can do is you can put this out, and this is just a map of London, and it really is just going to tell you the relations of things. So if you want to know if the murder was here, and 5 minutes later so-and-so was found here, that's a lot of area. So that might tell you a little bit where you'll be running around to and how things will be going. So the way the game will start, and a lot of this is going to happen in your mind. You're always going to start out with a little bit of a talk, usually between Holmes and Watson. This is not a spoiler. You get this as soon as the game starts. And you'll kind of read through this and give you some facts of what you're trying to find. And, you know, the artwork doesn't really matter. It's just the words, and somebody will read that. And then, I'll try this as spoiler-free as possible, you'll see that there's directions that will be put there. And then, so in the story, and this is not a spoiler, this is what you get in the beginning, you find out, like here, I'll just show you this. Philip Marlowe, the second vice president. I give you new information. And it's something you read when you first open it up. Well, so you might want to go into the directory, let's say, and you would look up Marlowe. You'd find out what section he is in, and then you would refer to that back in this book and find out what it says when you went there. And what you can do is you can try to, whenever you're ready, there's no ending, just when you're ready, you'll be given a few questions. I don't want to show that as a spoiler. Usually about 8 questions that you'll be answering, and each question will be worth a certain amount of points. Then you check in the back of the book for the answers to see if you're right or not. And you get certain points if you're right, or you get partial answers. And you can compare that to Sherlock, although Sherlock is insanely good at this. So I usually say just play it for fun. Don't worry about scoring against Sherlock. Just see if you can get the answer or not. And then there's only 10, but that will take you a long time. It's not a game that I think that you're going to play all the time. It's not a game that I think that you'll sit around and want to play 5 or 6 in a row. You won't do that. I find it to be a better solo experience. My wife and I like to play it together, but that's how you play it. A lot of it just happens in your mind, and you're putting things together, and you are visiting people and talking to them. Who should buy this game? Really, I'm going to recommend this for solo game players. Like, if you're a solo player, this is something that could be interesting to do. If you want to read a book, but you want something a little bit more, it's like a video game book, if you will. If you're looking at pieces around or roll some dice, this isn't it. All this is reading and then using your mind to try to figure out the mystery. So if that sounds interesting, or if you have a bunch of friends who want to read to each other, then this game would be appealing to you. Otherwise, I'm going to say, hey, check this out, try it out, look at the flow of the game, see if it's something that would interest you. They're mass producing this. There are people who have to be interested in this. I like it as a solo game, play with my wife, but I wouldn't play with anybody else. For me, this is a keeper. For us, it works. We've gone through a couple of them. I look forward to the rest. There's only 10 in the box. That's a lot. Okay, so don't get worried about it. A year or two, you'll forget some of the things. You can play with other people. 10 is plenty. You're going to get your money's worth. Okay, don't worry about that. For us, it's a keeper.